Hey, this is James Arnold Taylor, voice actor, the voice of
Yabba Dabba Doo, Fred Flintstone.
Johnny Test, who's 11 years old and totally awesome.
Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank, Tidus from Final Fantasy X. Oh, yes, and of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It wouldn't be Coffee with Kenobi without yours truly. The force is strong here indeed.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
I don't believe we have been introduced. R2-D2, a pleasure to meet you. I am C3PO Human Cyborg Relations. I beg your pardon, but what do you mean, naked?
Where are you from?
Nowhere.
No one's from nowhere.
Jakku.
All right, that is pretty much nowhere.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Joining us today for a cup of coffee. Well, I just want to warn you, if you are drinking coffee right now, I would encourage you, especially if it's a hot beverage, to put the drink down because we're going to be laughing. We're going to be having some fun. We're going to be telling some jokes because Star Wars is fun. Star Wars is serious. Star Wars has some wonderful characters, but Star Wars also makes us laugh. And is there anybody out there who makes us laugh about Star Wars quite the way that the author of Star Wars Dad Jokes does? Of course, I'm talking about Kelly Knox, and she is here to talk all about this book. And you should see the look on her face right now while I'm doing this introduction. Kelly, welcome.
Trying not to laugh. Hi, thanks for having me.
So, you and I, we finally got to meet face to face at Celebration in California last time, but we've chatted for a long time. You've been on the show before. I know that you're a talented writer, and I know that you have an excellent sense of humor, but I don't know kind of your Star Wars story about how you first fell in love with this galaxy far, far away.
I am old enough to be an original trilogy kid. I saw Return of the Jedi in the theater in 1983. I was only 6, but I remember it because back then it was still a film strip, and right when the Ewok steals the speeder, the film strip broke. And so the whole audience screamed, yep. So the whole audience, started yelling at the screen. And that was enough for me to have that permanent memory stuck in my head forever. So I don't remember if they fixed it. I don't remember when I saw the end of it. But over the years, my dad or my mom had taped it off HBO. So we got to watch Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi over and over on the old VHS tapes. And so that was kind of my start with Star Wars. We made it through the dark times where there was no new Star Wars. And after I had started working in the game industry, I got lucky enough to get a job on the Star Wars Galaxies team in Community. And so that was my first professional work in Star Wars. And then I stopped working to become a stay-at-home mom. And in that time, I started freelance writing, and it caught the attention of StarWars.com. And fast forward to where we're at now.
I love it. Wow, that's a great story. Were there ever certain characters back then that resonated with you so much? Not necessarily now, but just back then. And I'm assuming they've always been with you.
Yeah, no, Luke Skywalker really was my guy for the longest time for the original trilogy. He was my favorite character, but the more that time has gone on with the prequels and all the great content we get now, Darth Vader has taken the number one spot for me, with Obi-Wan Kenobi in second place, for professional reasons, because I got to write a book about him, and just because we've also been treated to so many great stories with him as the years have gone by. So yeah, I guess it's kind of changed since I was little, but in a good way, because we keep getting so many wonderful new characters and stories to kind of fall in love with.
Right. So at some point, you must have noticed yourself guffawing at Star Wars. And I love at the opening of this. It's, laugh it up, fuzzball. That's your intro. Well, it's not really. There's a nice little introduction that's super fun and appropriately corny in the best way possible. I use dad jokes all the time. In fact, I think they're just Dan jokes, or they're just funny. They're funny. I use them in my classroom. I use them with my kids. What is it to you about Star Wars that's so funny?
Star Wars has never really taken itself seriously. I remember Mark Hamill on the Muppet Show playing himself and Luke Skywalker. I remember seeing that as a kid and thinking it was the funniest. It's still the funniest thing ever, honestly. It's always been open to making not fun of itself, but having fun with its characters and things like Robot Chicken and all that. So I think there's never been a sense of it's not been like a precious property, right? Like George Lucas was always open to making jokes and making fun of anything that he felt like making fun of. So I feel like Star Wars kind of already lends itself well to that kind of tone. And then it's so easy to take something Star Wars like a droid or a Jedi or Sith, and it immediately feels Star Wars. You're immediately in that universe, and then turn that into a joke. I think it just kind of works really well.
I agree. Are there certain lines? I mean, I'm assuming Laugh It Up Fuzzball's got to be high up there for you, but are there certain lines that you've always laughed at and enjoyed that it maybe in some way, shape, or form helped to inspire this?
That one. I would say there's one dad joke in Star Wars, and that's Darth Vader in Rogue One, where he says, "Don't choke on your aspirations" in Rogue One. I think that one's like the dad joke, and that makes Vader seem a little not so serious in that moment. I think that joke, maybe not an inspiration, but maybe like a confirmation that it fits in the universe pretty well. And then there's always, Obi-Wan's always so snarky, and Han Solo's always making jokes. So I think there's nothing specific that was an inspiration, but again, it just kind of all fits so well together.
I agree. The Laugh It Up Fuzzball is very iconic. My good friend Jeff McGee, who does a lot of great Star Wars stuff, Star Wars Splash Page, most notably, where they look at Star Wars comic books. He loves Laugh It Up Fuzzball so much. I think he's going to get in Orabesh as a tattoo. He still says it's the funniest thing in Star Wars. And there's a lot of funny stuff in Star Wars, especially like Bad Batch has got some good stuff. There's a lot of funny characters. But like you said, it doesn't take itself seriously all the time. I think that's important. We all need a laugh. We all need a chance to just kind of take our breaths and escape. And when I first saw this book was coming out, and then you were writing a lot, and I said, well, of course, I didn't even bat an eye. And I'm sure a lot of your fans and friends said the same thing, because for a long time on social media, you've been posting a lot of funny, not only just Star Wars jokes, but just jokes in general. Are you a joke writer? I've considered myself funny, but I don't write jokes. I just kind of say what pops into my head. But writing a joke, that's no joke. That is hard stuff to do. So kind of talk about how you came up with this massive book, because how many jokes are in this book?
I can't remember where we landed. It's maybe close to 150. I don't know if it's up to 200. It's around in there somewhere.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's pretty good sized. I felt like when I saw it for the first time.
Yes.
I would not say I'm a joke writer. The way this kind of there's two ways this kind of started.
Okay.
One was after my daughter learned how to read. In her lunchbox, I would start handwriting jokes from dad jokes from the internet. I would look in the morning after I made her lunch, and I would write down a dad joke and the punchline for her, and she would read it out loud to her friends at the lunch table, and they would have so much fun. So I already had in my head just kind of like a data bank starting right of dad jokes that I had already written down for her. Eventually it turned into riddles because we kind of ran out of jokes.
Yes.
Which she liked too. But so there was a few years there. I think I made it from first to fourth grade, where I would write that down in her lunch every day. And then 2020 rolled around, lockdown started in March, and I remember one morning just looking at my timeline and thinking how horrible it was and dreary, because we were all just kind of doom scrolling all the time. And I wanted to just put something out there that was stupid and maybe would make somebody smile somewhere. And it wasn't like an instant hit. It didn't go viral. I don't know if it had more than 50 likes on it, but it was just a Star Wars joke. It was a classic dad joke that I turned into a Star Wars joke. And after I'd done that, I thought, that was kind of fun. Maybe I'll just kind of keep trying to do this because, we're all reading such terrible updates on COVID. Like, let's add something fun to the timeline once in a while. So I made it, I don't know why still, a personal goal to post one Star Wars dad joke a day. And I think I made it a year, maybe a year and a half. And they were not all great or good. And they were not bad in the good way, but, but I made it through. So yeah, and eventually I saved them because I had a spreadsheet. I didn't want to repeat anything, and I'm a nerd, so I put them all on a spreadsheet. And so I had them saved up, and eventually, it's kind of hard to say how it happened. It was kind of half pitch and half approached to make the book happen, the Star Wars Dad Jokes book happen with the publisher. And I'd had some saved up in that spreadsheet. So the book is probably like a few saved up, some of my favorites that I shared on Twitter, but mostly new jokes. So
wow.
That's the whole process to how the book happened.
I'm going to guess that this was more daunting than the other things you've written. Is that fair to say?
Yes. This was very difficult because not only did I have to come up with the jokes, which is, very hard in itself, but they also had to make it through approvals from the publisher and Lucasfilm. So that was like a lot to go through for some silly jokes, but we had enough to make a book out of it. So
I can picture this. Are you a fan of Larry David and Seinfeld?
I have seen a lot of Larry David and Seinfeld.
Okay.
And Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes. To me, my favorite show. Not for kids. Definitely not for kids, but my favorite show. He famously carried a brown notebook around with him and with a pen. And he would just fold it and put it in his back pocket. I think he lost it. And he was pretty devastated, but he had every idea, every joke he ever thought of while he was walking, while he was driving, he'd pull over, put them in. Did you have anything like that?
I had a list of names and places and things that I was kind of like rolling around in my head. Like I really wanted to get a Princess Leia joke in, so I would write Princess Leia down in the notebook, or I would write words that sounded like I could make a pun out of them. I don't know how to explain it more than that. Like a word that was, I can't think of a specific example, but I just had a list of things. Sure. This was just for the book, not for the tweets, but I would make a list of those things because I wanted to make sure to get them in the book. So.
Right. Wow. Did you have like a certain time of day while I'm going to write jokes, or just how did you make that work?
I was working on 2 or 3 books at the same time as this one. And so, yeah, it was a lot. So I had to kind of set aside the time and shift how I was thinking. So I would be like, okay, this morning I'm doing this Return of the Jedi book that's coming out this same month, actually. Or I'm going to set aside the afternoon to do the jokes. And so I would definitely have to get my brain in that space. Although sometimes, I'd be writing something else and I would think of something or another to jot down real quick. Yeah. Maybe something for the list of people or characters that I wanted to make fun of, or right. Something similar. But most of the time, I had to set aside, because I was doing a few books at once, I had to set aside the time to be just in joke mode. So
that's outstanding. All right, so I don't want to. I really would just love to just share a bunch of these, but I want people to buy the book and read it. But I'm going to share one that always makes me guffaw. And I think it's hilarious. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, this is totally right up my alley. But what did one Mandalorian helmet say to the other? Do you remember the punchline?
I do.
Wait here. I'll go on ahead. Come on. I'm going to add a laugh track to that. It's so good. It's so. Are there? Why do droids go on vacation? To recharge their batteries. And you've got the charming art. Johnny Sampson. What do you think when you saw this art?
I didn't get a chance to meet Johnny Sampson or really talk to him. The editor was kind of the go-between. And so, but what happened there was, because of that, was that he just had the text and he went off. And so being able to see the pictures for the first time, first of all, cracked me up. And then I felt so like lucky to see how an artist interpreted the jokes, like how he visualized them. So even though we didn't get to work directly together, that kind of made it even better. Because then when I did finally see, I saw it digitally first, in a PDF, I cracked up. And I will tell anybody and everybody, like, no modesty, the pictures are the funniest part of this book. Like, I cannot get over some of the illustrations in here, and I can't wait for people to see them.
Well, there's one with a Tuscan writer like standing on, like, kind of holding a microphone like he's a stand-up comedian. It's really good because the book comes out. Is it April 1st? Is that right?
April 2nd, I think.
April 2nd. Oh, wow. I feel even more excited. I've been reading these to my son. And at first he said, "Oh, dad jokes." And I read him one and he goes, "Can I see that?" Guess what? For an hour, he regaled me with Star Wars dad jokes because they're awesome. Again, we don't want to give them away because we want people to buy this book. It's so fun. It's so funny. Actually make a great Father's Day gift too, I think. But are there certain jokes that you would like to tell us or share with us from the book?
I can find my.
Do you have a reserve of a few? Yeah.
I don't. There are some with like the book listing that are already out there, and so
yeah.
And they just happened to pick my favorite one because it has the illustration with it, and that was, why did Leia change her hairstyle on Hoth? Because she was freezing her buns off.
Yes. Yeah. I feel so bad that people can't see Kelly's face, and she's like legitimately pure joy giggling.
The picture's so good.
It is good. It is good. That's actually the first one I opened to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's really good. That one's good. There's on the back. I'll just read the ones from the back. They're safe to share.
Good idea. Yeah. All that's on the previews.
So how do you feel about me saying the punchline? And are you me saying the joke and you saying the punchline? You think you can do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. What kind of stories do Wookiee parents tell at bedtime?
Fairy tales.
Yay! Now I went this time. Can you do it now? Give the punchline.
Sure. Why does 3PO always tell you the odds?
Because he can't even. I love that one. And that, like you said, that's a kind of a nice play on a classic, but you give it a Star Wars twist.
Yep.
All right, this time I'll read it again this time because I like how you tell the jokes. All right, how you tell the punchline. Why do the warriors of Mandalore leave their helmets on?
It's Mandatorian.
See? I think it's so charming that you did this for your daughter. Now, what does she think about this whole book situation?
She
Are we too cool great. For school yet?
A little bit. Well, so Star Wars has always been mom's thing for her, right? So she's not super into it. She liked Solo, and that's kind of as far as she really went in her Star Wars journey. She was very young when she saw that one. So she's 15 now, and maybe a little too cool for dad jokes. I get a good eye roll though, and I still try to sneak them in where I can. But when she was little, when she was in elementary school, she loved those jokes every day. So I think she'll come back around.
Of course she will. And the fact that you have those memories, I just think that's magical. I mean, that, and as a parent and myself, I mean, that there's nothing better than just doing something to brighten your kid's day. It doesn't cost money. It's just letting them know they're loved and you're thinking about them. And so thank you for sharing that story. That's just so great.
Thanks.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
The book's coming out April 1st. It's available everywhere, right?
April 2nd.
April 2nd, right? 2nd. I keep messing that up.
It would be great on April 1st, but April 2nd.
I know. Come on, universe. What can you share about what else you've got going on that is coming out or that is recently been released?
So April is going to be sort of an unintentionally huge month for my books. There's the Dad Jokes is coming out April 2nd, and then April 23rd is the Return of the Jedi Visual Archive. I was part of the writing team for that one. And that's a look at the movie with some behind the scenes info and interviews. And how elements from Return of the Jedi connect to the larger Star Wars universe now. So that's a really pretty book. It's huge too. You can't.
I see it behind you.
Yeah, it's like textbook size. So I mean, it's
wow.
pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's out the 23rd of April, and I believe the same day is the Marvel Studios character encyclopedia that I updated for DK Books. So yeah, I've got those 3 coming out in all in April. So
bravo, congratulations.
Thank you.
I love those. I mean, of course, I worked on the updated Star Wars character one with Amy Raquel, and I know how much fun those are and how daunting those are. So I look forward to seeing that, and I always look forward to chatting with you. There is one more book that you have coming out in October that you worked on with many Star Wars authors, including me, the Star Wars Encyclopedia. So I'm sure we will be chatting about that in the near future, too.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk more about that one. That one was a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Well, Kelly, always such a delight and a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for sharing some laughter into the world. It is so appreciative. You're perpetuating the joy of the Force, and we're so thankful. Where can people reach out to you if they want to ask you a question or just say hello?
You can still find me on Twitter at Kelly_Knox, and I still post jokes once in a while and general I don't think I can cuss. Bad. I try to be funny. I'll just say that. So yeah, you can always find me on Twitter, not being too serious.
A huge thank you to Kelly Knox for joining us to talk about Star Wars dad jokes. So much fun. Kelly is always fun to chat with and laugh with, and I hope that you all enjoy the book as much as I did. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us each and every week on Coffee with Kenobi. Our website is coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. The official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi is MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And speaking of that, as you may have seen on social media, we are finally able to announce the exciting trip, the next Coffee with Kenobi trip. We are going on the Disney Wish June 16th to the 20th. If you want to find out more about how to book your trip or get a no cost, no obligation quote and join us for an amazing experience on board the Disney Wish, where you can enjoy so many incredible things such as the Hyperspace Lounge, the Star Wars Lounge that you can access and be a part of on the Disney Wish. It's the only Disney cruise line that has a Star Wars option. We'll be leaving from Port Canaveral, Florida. You can find all the information and get your no cost, no obligation quote at coffeewithkenobi.com/Disney Wish, or go to Coffee with Kenobi's website and look for information there. But as I said, I'm very excited and babbling, but it's for a really good reason. You're going to have so much fun on this thing. Plus, we're going to have some other exciting details and opportunities and meetups to come on this epic trip. These things do book pretty quickly. So again, go to coffeewithkenobi.com/Disney Wish to find out more. You can always reach out to me and I can fill you in as well. CWK Live is Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time at coffeewithkenobi.com/live. You can go to the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group for Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler and drama-free place. Coffee with Kenobi is possible because of the members of the CWK Alliance. Thanks to you, this podcast, CWK Live, event coverage, and so much more comes to life. Find out how you can help the show for as little as $1 a month by joining the CWK Alliance, and you'll receive access to CWK Pour-Over and exclusive weekly audio and video podcasts not heard anywhere else. Members at the CWK Alliance All-Star level receive a video edition of CWK Pour-Over and access to a private Facebook group as well. Plus, CWK Alliance Grand Masters join me for a monthly live video call. Find out more and sign up today at coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. 10% of your monthly contributions to the CWK Alliance go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. You can email me at danzy@coffeewithkenobi.com. You can find me on X, Instagram, and Threads, and also on LinkedIn. Coffee with Kenobi is all over social media: X, Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, TikTok. Give the show a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi, or subscribe to Coffee with Kenobi's YouTube channel, where you can find over 700 videos, past live shows, events, and this podcast. Please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. You can get Coffee with Kenobi merchandise at coffeewithkenobi.com/shop. And if you need a speaker for an upcoming event, you can book me to come to your school, conference, business, or organization. I'm happy to talk with your group about how to tap into your strengths, bring out your very best, discuss mythology, or customize a presentation to fit your specific needs. Thank you as always for joining me for a virtual cup of coffee. I appreciate your time very much so and look forward to the next opportunity to talk Star Wars with you. I'm Dan Zehr, reminding you that this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.